of Ventura Boulevard through Encino. Now just taking a right turn. Now heading up at a very high rate of speed. Yeah. Now picking up the speeds as this driver, and you can see it's tinted windows, really dangerous speeds now. We're not seeing any ground units. There's an air unit above, an LAPD airship. But this is why the LAPD sometimes backs off, because they want to lower the energy level of that driver, of that suspect, so that perhaps they will slow down and not endanger the public.
So that driver now on Balboa, and noting that it's 5:30 at night, you might think there'd be a bit more traffic there on the streets, but fairly open there for this pursuit to continue, possibly heading towards the freeway?
101. That's right, the 101, heading northbound on Balboa, and there is an on-ramp there, and we'll see if this suspect chooses to get on the 101 freeway. And it looks like they are there. Again, an alleged stolen Mercedes here, that SUV traveling at a very high rate of speed, dangerous speeds there. We'll get that signal back in just a second. It's so fast that our signal can't keep up with that driver. And we're not seeing many units behind. And now that this pursuit has entered the freeways, the California Highway Patrol will enter the game here. This will be a multi-agency incident where the CHP is involved, LAPD, if they initiated this pursuit, if they heard that this vehicle was stolen. That's what happens here, and that's what we're seeing right now.
So we are now watching this. You see pretty heavy traffic on one side of the 101, not so much on this direction. We're looking on that 101 freeway in the Encino neighborhood. A lot of people heading home from work after a long day, not necessarily anticipating they will run into this, and maybe don't have a lot of notice about this other than the helicopters in the air. You don't see a lot of cruisers there, at least not yet. But Rick, as you mentioned, oftentimes CHP will be pretty quick. You don't see a lot of cruisers there, at least not yet. But Rick, as you mentioned, oftentimes CHP will be pretty quick to jump on that freeway.
Absolutely. And what they'll do is they'll even block on-ramps and off-ramps. They'll do whatever they can to keep the other motorists on the freeway and trying to enter or exit the freeway safe at this time. And this is a good time to remind everybody, if you encounter something like this, if you sense that somebody's being chased, if the CHP is tracking someone, lights and sirens, just try to back off, pull to the right or left safely, and don't try to be a hero in any means because you just don't know what the suspect's mindset is.
So at this hour, this rush hour, traffic usually going the opposite direction. So when you could get a glimpse of the other direction there, you can see that freeway is bumper to bumper and packed. Less traffic coming in here to town from Encino. But Rick Dickert, this motorist can go either the 405 south or continue
north
on the 101, where they might encounter more traffic.
And there's a lot of traffic. I'm looking at our real-time traffic system, east and westbound side of the 101 near the 405. One of the busiest interchanges, as you both know, Christine and Alex, the 101 and the 405 in the San Fernando Valley.
In the whole country.
Whether you go north on the 405 or south, there will be some traffic here with reduced speeds, and we are rapidly approaching that interchange here. And this suspect doing whatever he or she can, unclear if there's anybody else inside that vehicle at this time. Again, this is an alleged stolen vehicle suspect. Bottom line, the CHP, LAPD, whoever initiated this, lit this individual up, and they chose not to pull over, and the pursuit was on.
The challenge, of course, with a stolen vehicle is you don't necessarily know who's behind the wheel. It's a lot easier when it's not a stolen vehicle and you look at the license plate and you kind of know who owns the car, who's registered to it, and it gives you a better sense in terms of background information about them. With a stolen vehicle, it really could be anybody. Police may know a lot more than they're telling us. We don't know a lot about who this person is. Or how many people may be in that vehicle.
And we are heading now eastbound on the 101. We passed the 405. We're now in Sherman Oaks. You can see with our real-time nav system, the 101 freeway through Sherman Oaks at Van Nuys Boulevard. That takes it to the east of the 405 interchange. You can see speeds down under 5 miles an hour. I told you, I saw that on our real-time traffic system. Traffic is jammed. This stretch of the 101 through what we call the valley floor between the 101 and the 405 interchange and the Hollywood split. That's where the 101, the 170, the 134 freeways all meet. That interchange will be coming up shortly. And you can see the suspect is still acting erratically, trying to get away. But what we haven't seen, Alex and Christine, are any units behind this vehicle at this time. It's unclear if those ground units have backed off. Most of the time, if that does happen, happen and we go into what we call just surveillance mode, there's going to be an airship, an LAPD helicopter surveying this from above, and they will follow this vehicle. They will follow this suspect, this alleged stolen vehicle suspect, until he or she pulls over.
And it looks like this suspect is making a move to exit the freeway in that far right lane. When we first picked up this pursuit, it was on surface streets. Ooh, look at that move
dangerous.
there.
Yeah, that was
That's
close.
Scary. Yeah, but this vehicle was on surface streets. We picked it up in the Van Nuys area, in Sherman Oaks, and Encino. Interesting to see if this person gets off and back onto those surface streets, and maybe even circles back, Rick.
Yeah, a lot of times we do see that. We talk about that all the time, that a lot of times these suspects like to stay in familiar grounds where they're familiar with, the neighborhoods they're familiar with, so that perhaps they could go through a back alley that they know about and evade police. So we'll see if that does happen indeed. But right now, this is a stretch of the 101 through the valley floor, coming away from the 405 interchange towards the Hollywood split, where the 101, the 170, the 134 freeways meet, and it's stop and go. He's stopped right now. She stopped right now, the suspect, and unclear again if there's anybody else inside this alleged stolen vehicle.
You wonder, like, why isn't CHP involved?
It's one of those situations. They may have chosen to back off earlier where we didn't see the real erratic nature of the driving of this suspect. We've seen so many horrific situations where innocent bystanders have either been injured or even killed as a result of these pursuits. So what they can do is they can still go in tracking mode from the air with an LAPD airship, with an LA County Sheriff's Department airship, and track the suspect and back off on those ground units. So perhaps that will kind of ease the energy of the suspect being pursued so that they don't get involved in a situation where they are going to harm somebody.
So back to Sherman Oaks, the driver did not exit the freeway at that one off-ramp there, so continuing on the 101 freeway eastbound. Rick Dicker, you're getting a feel for how traffic is as we get closer to the North Hollywood area.
Yeah, Thursday is typically the busiest day of the week in Southern California for traffic. Friday's busy as well, but Thursday is the busiest. It looks like you see
two people or one person?
Yeah, it looks like there could be two people. It looks like there could be a passenger in there as well. And I'm watching that right front tire, and it looks a little wobbly. We don't know if this vehicle has been involved in any type of collision prior to when we picked this pursuit up. But the bottom line, traveling in an eastbound direction on the 101 freeway. Again, this is through the valley, coming away from Encino, away from Sherman Oaks, towards North Hollywood, where the 101 merges with the 170 and the 134, what we call the Hollywood split. And there are a lot of options there for this suspect to take. They could stay on the freeway. They could exit the freeway. They could take the 101 south, which would take this pursuit into Hollywood, down towards downtown LA. They continue eastbound onto the 134 portion of the Ventura Freeway into Burbank and Glendale.
And it's sort of a bright skies out there. You know, we just had daylight saving time. This would have looked a lot darker. We've been seeing sunset around this time beforehand. Now, a bright, easy drive for this person. But those familiar sights, which we didn't have as much during the pandemic, of rush hour freeway on the 101, we're seeing here. And now this person
right now now they're
some
really
dangerous
picking up.
maneuvers and getting off the freeway here.
Taking an off ramp here, so we'll see what happens here. And getting a little bit more erratic, threading the needle there.
Oof.
And I don't know what agitated the suspect, because that suspect was really sort of backing off on speeds. Now underneath the 101 freeway, now onto Woodman Avenue and Ventura Boulevard, which is adjacent to the 101 freeway there in the San Fernando Valley. So the suspect, for whatever reason, again, you just don't know the mindset of these suspects. They decided, like, I don't like this traffic. I see it coming up. I need to get out of this. I'm agitated. Now making a turn onto Riverside Drive through Sherman Oaks. That is a east-west thoroughfare that parallels the 101 freeway here, and traveling back in a westbound direction on Riverside.
Whoa.
Now making a hard left turn. And just trying to do, again, I have not seen any, and we've been pretty tight on this vehicle, this alleged stolen Mercedes here, whether or not there are any units behind that vehicle that is causing that suspect to get really agitated and try to evade.
Is that the mall there? Or where are we?
Yeah, we're at Woodman Avenue here, right off the 101 freeway, in and out, weaving in and out of traffic. Very busy here right
Wait.
off the 101 freeway.
Is that the entrance?
That's the mall.
Into the mall area, yeah. And
This is how we always say how you get away.
But perhaps
That's right.
this car's trying, he's trying to ditch the car.
Let's see what happens here,
you know, in
because
the
we
garage
have
where there's
seen
no cameras.
making a left turn.
Yeah.
We'll see if that happens. We've seen there are 18% of pursuits, according to the LAPD, in which the suspect is able to get away. And a lot of times we see it in these types of facilities where we have parking structures, and this suspect decided to duck in there. And the situation is, you can pull into a spot, rapidly run out. You're covered up by the parking structure, so the aerial unit can't see you.
Right.
And if there's not any ground units behind, they don't know where you went.
Right.
So you could quickly get out and just sort of...
It's not your car.
Exactly.
Right.
And you're just rolling through and go, hey, I'm going to Gap. I'm all good.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of surveillance video
There's the LAPD
at a place like this, but
for the short term.
this is the highest percentage move for cars that get away is doing what this person presumably just did, especially when there's the so-called tracking mode and there's nobody behind you.
That's right. And I've seen a couple of suspects get away in this particular parking structure here off the 101 freeway in the San Fernando Valley here. A couple of motorcyclists who have ducked in there. That's happened in the past, so we'll see what happens. At this point, we're looking. Sky Fox is on it right off the 101 freeway there at Van Nuys Boulevard. You know them all. You can see it from the 101 freeway here. That suspect said, hey, I'm going to duck in here. I'm going to pull into a parking stall. I'm going to try to jump out, and hopefully nobody will see me, and I could just sort of merge myself into the public there, going out for a stroll in the mall on this Thursday evening.
Makes me think this driver is familiar with this general area because they were in Van Nuys, then Sherman Oaks, around the mall in Sherman Oaks over there, and then Encino, onto the freeway, getting off back in this general area of Sherman Oaks. Apparently knowing this mall well enough, I'm thinking, to know that there's a garage there you can pull in.
You're right, Christine. Alex, they're smart. I mean, some of these suspects, is that the
I don't think so.
Yeah, we're trying to see if, I would think that the suspect ducked in there just to do what we talked about.
I remember covering one of these in the field in the Inland Empire where a suspect did just that, got out, went into a movie theater and watched a movie.
Well, maybe there's fingerprints all over that car, and police might be able to track him down.
Yeah. All right.
Time is up. We are seeing this more and more, and here we go. We'll see. And this could be one of those. We talk about the 18% that get away in LAPD jurisdiction. We'll see if that happens here.
We'll let you know if this guy is caught. In the meantime, we're going to move on to some other news and update that when we get new information. This week, we've got a very special edition of our political show, The Issue Is. The mayor of Los Angeles taking us on an exclusive tour of the city, and he's behind the wheel.